I'm Senator Bob Huff. Thanks for joining me for my capital comment for the week of April 29th, 2013. This week marks a deadline. We tend to be a deadline-driven organization. We have to get anything with fiscal implications, any bill, out of the legislature, out of our House, or it gets held up for next year. Now, the last 2 weeks have been particularly tough on Republican legislation. You remember last week I showed you what happened to my education reform bills. This week I had a legal reform which would have modified class action lawsuits, made them a little bit more fair. That got torpedoed. That was SB 737. Another example, SB 607 would have helped create a flexible work week. If employee wanted to work 10-hour days, 4 days a week instead of the current 5 days, 8 hours, that would have allowed that. Another bill that went down in flames was CEQA reform. And certainly CEQA has become a blunt object to kill job creation because it slows down the process of creating these larger projects that tend to employ a lot of people. Well, this kind of reaction of killing what we would call good government bills is typical, but it shows who's in control. Now, what isn't typical is when you have Democrats and Republicans that line up together, or a Democrat bill that the leadership doesn't like, then they'll often bottle that up in rules. So it'll get through the policy committee, maybe make through another committee, and then they kill it more strategically. I happen to be a joint author of a Constitutional Amendment 10, SCA 10, which would increase legislative accountability. 72 hours a bill would need to be in print. I tried this before in 2010. I got it out of the policy committee. It got killed in rules or held up there. What the bill would require is all legislation online and in print 72 hours. A little more transparency in government. By the way, we require that of local government. But, when we're putting thousands of bills through, most of these things are vetted and shared, but many are not. Some of the big ones are not, such as AB 1890 in 1996. This had to do with electricity deregulation. Well, they might have had a good idea. They thought the free market could come in. What happened was there was unintended consequences. Some folks figured out how to corner the market, and you remember we had blackouts and brownouts. A more recent example, AB 109 in 2011, they call it the realignment bill. We're sending 30 to 40,000 prisoners down to local jails without giving them the resources to incarcerate those folks, and we're having an increase in crime. What happened to this bill was, on March 14th, it went from a one-page spot bill to a 663-page, very detailed vote. It was available to the public on the 15th, voted out of committee on the 16th, sent to the Senate floor on the 17th. Did it have any mistakes? Well, what do you think? We had to do 6 major cleanup bills. Now, there's some other states that do this 72-hour print, so this is not creating something new. New York, Hawaii, Florida all do it. This is something that we really ought to have. It's a good government thing, but it'll probably get held up in rules, but I'll keep you posted on that. But I want to thank you for joining me. I'm Senator Bob Huff.